Okay. So there's another question from the SAFE folks. They had a lot of questions about rebirth. I think most people have a lot of questions about rebirth. Okay, so they said, when I started to study about rebirth, I found out that it is the imprints of my actions on my mind stream that will join with another body that I am calling my next life. This left me feeling disconnected from my past and future lives. If it's not the I that I'm attached to that goes on, then why care more about that subset of sentient beings that will inherit my mind stream in the future than any other sentient beings, except that I have the opportunity to influence them in a way that I cannot for any other sentient beings, since they will experience the result of my actions. I say during my motivation each morning that I truly want to help sentient beings, but my abilities to help them are limited. Well, here's a place where I can be of benefit to this group of sentient beings that are a continuation of myself. At least, the least I can do is not create a lot of negative karma for them to experience the negative results of. Okay, I'm still trying to understand my current situation in terms of previous lives and karma. I feel like I didn't create the causes for my current situation. Some other sentient being whose mind stream joined with my body at conception did. And I'm back to feeling like I'm experiencing things I don't deserve. There must be a middle ground here, but I'm having a hard time finding it. Okay, so this, again, you can see how the grasping at true existence influences our ideas. Yeah, because behind this question is the idea that there's one stable, quasi-permanent self that's of this life, okay? But if you look at it, we talk about the I of this life, you know, my life, this life, there's a self. But if you break it down in more detail, there's a person when I was an infant, when I was a toddler, as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, as a middle-aged adult, as a senior citizen, as an old person. There's all these different I's within this one life, isn't it? You know, when we say, we can speak of I in a general way of this life, but we can also speak of I as belonging to a specific time in our life. And what we do, what the I does when we're little, influences what we experience when we're old. We know that, okay? But in one way, you could say, well, the child, the self of the child and the self of the adult are different, because one existed at this period of time and the other one existed at this period of time. So in one way, they're different. Yeah, but they are also part of the same continuum. And they're both part of the same I or self of this life. So it isn't that the child that you were creates the cause for the results that the adult is going to experience, but that adult is a completely different person. It's a different person, but it's within the same mind stream. Okay, are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? So what we do is we talk about a general I and the specific I's of which it's composed. So in this example, the general I is the I of this life. The specific I's are the I of the baby, the toddler, you know, the child, the teenager, you know, all those have different I's, but they're all part of the general I of this life. And so that what you do earlier in your life affects what happens to you later in your life. It's not a totally different person. Yeah, and we feel that and we can see that connection. You know, when you're a smart little kid, you think, oh, I'm going to make good decisions because I want to be happy when I'm older. And when you're older, you look back and you think, oh, I made a good decision or a bad decision when I was younger because I'm experiencing this now. Yeah? So although they're different people, you feel that connection because they're part of the same continuity. Now, if you take that same example and you broaden the general I to be just the general I of all the lifetimes of this continuity, this particular mind stream, you know, the I that's imputed in dependence on just this whole long continuity, then the I's of the different lives could be the specifics of that general I. Okay, and so in that way, what we do in one life, the person that we are in one life, creates the causes for what we experience, the person in the next life. It's a different person. If we were Harry in last life and Susan in this life, they're different people. They have different names. But they're not totally different people, because what Harry does relates to what Susan experiences in the same way that what the I of the child did relates to what the I of the adult experiences. Okay? So when we think about it that way, we see that, you know, there is a continuity that goes along, and we can say, you know, in a previous life I created the causes for what I'm experiencing now, because, you know, there we're talking about the general I that covers all these different rebirths. Okay? And yet, when we're talking about a specific I of a specific rebirth, you know, at the end of this life, Tupten Chodron ceases. You know, the next life is not Tupten Chodron. It's somebody else with a different name, but it's a continuity of Tupten Chodron. Okay, so what I do affects what happens to that person. Okay, even though that person's, you know, that person is not different from Tupten Chodron the way Venerable Tarpa is different. Because what I do in this life is not going to ripen in terms of what Venerable Tarpa experiences, because it's different mind streams, but it'll ripen in terms of whoever I am in the future lives. Okay? So we talk about general I's and specific I's, and what's a general I in one situation can be a specific I in another. Yeah? But this way of thinking helps us really see the relationship between a previous moment of ourself and the present moment. One of the reasons that it's hard to get a feeling for that relationship is because we feel like such concrete people right now. Yeah? But we can see how that feeling is not very realistic, because, you know, we feel like I'm concrete, you know, like who I am now is who I always have been and who I always will be. But, you know, can you imagine being a baby? Yeah, I mean, think of what you thought about as a baby. Do you feel much connection with that infant that was you? When you really think about it, do you feel much connection? Do you even remember what happened to that infant? No. And yet we know very clearly that we're a continuity of that infant. Yeah, there's a relationship between that infant that we were however many years ago and the adult we are now. Okay? So when we think like this, we realize that you know, the I is something that's very fluid. You know, it's something that exists by being merely labeled. It's not something fixed. Yeah? But you can see how that feeling of a fixed me, kind of, we keep bumping up against it when we try to understand different things. Okay? Clear? Like mud. Okay.